Have I been avoiding making this episode? Yes. Am I going to make it through this episode without crying? Probably not. Which is, maybe about 60% of the reason why, if you're watching this on YouTube, I look like a hot mess right now. I have no makeup on. I am in my pajamas. Um, it's not been a great 10 days. And now I have to talk about why. Oh, God. Okay. So this is going to require a hot minute of context. About a week-ish ago, I think. What do days mean in the time of COVID? I'm not sure. But about a week-ish ago, I got a request or an invite on Facebook for my 15-year high school reunion. And when I saw this invite sitting in my notifications, first of all, I had to take a moment to square with the fact that I graduated high school 15 years ago. I'm getting so old. So I needed a moment to process that. And then I spent the longest time just staring at this group invite for my 15-year reunion and feeling so very many feelings. So many feelings. I'm not going to go into the full history here because I've done that several times on this podcast. Get a hold of the older episodes if you really want to get into it. But just quick review. I did not have a good time in high school. I was very, very socially isolated. I was very mentally isolated. I was very, very different. I hate it when you get into that trope of this girl is different from all the others. But in this case, it's actually kind of true. Just because my life experiences were so different from everybody else that I was in high school with. So, when I got to high school, I was already kind of checked out because I'd been bullied so severely in middle school. And then my father died, so I went even further mentally isolated. There are pictures of myself my senior year of high school where I look like a zombie, just dead-eyed, bags under my eyes, no expression on my face, just I was a dead person wandering around in this shambling corpse. So yeah, high school, not a great time for me. And yet, for a fleeting moment, I thought, what if I went? What if I went to this reunion? Now, about 4 years ago, my adopted big sister got married. So me and my mom and my sisters went to Missouri for the wedding, which is in Kansas City. As part of that trip, we spent a couple of days in Glasgow and in Fayette. And walking around the town with my mom and my sisters was hard. It was emotionally draining at the time, but it was also very cathartic for me. I reached a kind of closure with Glasgow, the town, that I had never had before. And the closure that I got was that I no longer needed to demonize Glasgow as a place or the people in general. I was able to settle in my mind the fact that it is a town. It is a place that I was not very happy, but the town itself was not born of evil. The people there were not mostly actively trying to make my life miserable. It was just a small town where I did not fit in. And that was nobody's fault. It was a bad fit of place and personalities. So I managed to square with Glasgow and my memories of the place to that point. And I've thought about that trip a lot in the years since. And I mean, even today, I can close my eyes and I can walk through the entire town. I can start at Perry's, walk past the high school, walk past the turnoff to the pool where I used to work as a lifeguard. I can take the turnoff into the other side of town. There was no other side of town. I can take the turn to get to my house. I can do the entire walk in my dreams, and I do frequently. And there's a weird sort of comfort and catharsis in doing that mental walkthrough. And I still feel a sense of catharsis when I think about that trip. And so for a moment, while I was sitting there staring at this Facebook notification, I had the thought that, what if I need to go back? What if I need to see these people in person in order to have the same kind of cathartic experience that I had the last time we went to Glasgow, or when I went to go visit my dad's grave? Like, what if physically staring these people in the face is what I need in order to hit a final sense of closure? So that thought stayed with me for a hot minute, and I went to bed. And then the dreams started. God damn it. So there are two dreams in particular about this situation that I've had in the past few days that are they're sitting on my shoulders, waiting for me to come to grips with them. So let me flagellate myself in public for your entertainment. Dream number 1 primarily involved, I'm telling these dreams out of order, but dream number 1 is the less traumatic of the two. Dream number 1 involved me flying over the town and over the high school and floating through the halls of the high school, taking everything in, but avoiding contact with all humans. And as is typical in a dream, everyone was there. I think I saw 2 of the priests wandering the high schools. I saw high school teachers. I saw my classmates. I saw people from college who should not have been there. But I didn't interact with any of them. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a huge believer in dream symbolism. And I do truly believe that dreams are the way that our brains work through issues and problems and subconscious riptides that are just threatening to pull you under. So the feeling that I got from this dream in particular was, you're flying above the issue. You've gotten the big picture closure that you needed. You're making your way through the issue, but you're not grounded. You have not found the core of this problem. You've not found that tiny little black seed that is at the root of all of this trauma and all of these deeply embedded emotional and behavioral responses. You haven't found the thing that you're holding on to. And you need to stop. You need to ground yourself in that issue, and you need to find that thing. You need to find that little evil black seed that you're still stuck in. So that was dream number 1. I woke up hating my brain and cursing everything when I woke up from that dream. But then there was dream number 2. And I wonder how many of you are aware of just how evil the 3 o'clock in the morning hour is. Some people say that midnight is the witching hour. It's not. It's 3 in the morning. It is 3 in the morning when your defenses are at their lowest, when all of your mental blocks have dropped. That is when your brain gets you, and that is when shit gets traumatic. So at 3 a.m, I woke up and my brain decided to take me on a thought experiment. And the thought experiment was, what would happen if you did go back for your high school reunion? If you saw your classmates, what would happen? What would you do? What would you say? What would you say to individual people? And that's when I started to have a little bit of an emotional breakdown, but my brain would not let me, just have the breakdown in peace. It continued this thought experiment. So I'm going to try and do this without naming names because, protect the anonymity of everyone who's not me. It's my show. They don't matter. Anyway, so I started thinking, okay, I know that there are certain people among my classmates that haunt me more than others do. The majority of my high school classmates and the majority of the people that I went to high school with, they don't matter to this inner drama. They don't matter to my trauma. They are irrelevant to the story. They're background characters. I can just, you can move along. I don't need to talk to you. And really, the core people that this is about the 15 of us. The 15 of us who were in the same class in middle school and who went to high school together. And in my head for years, probably since I was 11 and met these people, they have always existed in my head as one solid unit. Probably because most of them had known each other since they were babies and had grown up together all through elementary school. And then I got folded in middle school and we all grew up together. So they really are kind of just this one large blob. And they're the ones that I'm carrying with me. And honestly, of those 15, some more than others, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6. There's the 6 of them that I'm really carrying with me. 4 of them are girls who bullied me. One of them is, we weren't like bosom buddies, but we were friends. We were friendly. I'd like to think that we liked each other. We got along just fine. 2 of the bullies were in middle school, but then they did not go to high school with us. So that just left the other 2 bullies. And then there's that other one. We'll get to that other one later. If you're watching this, if you're only listening to this on Spotify, I'm currently like pointing at my thumb, like the lone one that we're going to just dismiss right now. Go along, little thumb. We'll talk about you later. So let's talk about those 5. The 4 bullies and my one, not quite a friend, but, not an enemy. So the 2 middle school bullies who did not go to high school with us, I have not resolved my feelings about those 2. Probably because they left in 7th and 8th grades, and I never saw either of them again. I never spoke to either of them again. So I've never shut down that particular narrative of bullying. Like those 2 people, I need to say this first. I came to the realization in therapy, I'm jumping around a lot, I'm sorry. I came to the realization in therapy that I'm not exactly haunted by the actual people. I'm haunted by my memories of them and the characters of them that I have created in my head. The characters of them that play out this internal drama. So we have these 2 characters from middle school who were horrible bullies, who never apologized, and who I never got closure with. Because they left and they went to different high schools and I never saw either of them again. So I have no resolution for those 2. Then there are the 2 other bullies who, while yes, they were really, it was traumatic and their behavior was horrible. But these are the 2 that have since apologized and who they apologized sincerely and completely without any expectation of anything after that. So I think, going along with this thought experiment, I think that if I were to go back to Glasgow and see those two, I think I could sit down and have a coffee with them. I think that I could carry on a conversation with them. And while I don't feel any need to have them as an active presence in my life, I don't feel a loss of friendship when I think about the two of them. I have grown enough and I have done enough therapy, so much therapy. I've done enough therapy that I have forgiven the two of them. And I think that I could, if not be friends, I could be civil with the two of them. And with that one that was not a bully, was the friendly one, yeah, I could sit down and have a coffee with her. I could sit down and talk. So the three of them, I have some level of closure with. And I honestly don't think there's anything else to be gained by actually being there in person and talking to them. I think while I can't say that I feel actual full closure yet, I think with the three of them, I'm getting really close. So that story, I think is going to be okay. And now the other thumb comes back. So this little thumb here represents the boy that I was stupid in love with for 7 years. He was my first love. Whatever that means when you're 11. Like, he was my boyfriend when I was 11, but like, I was 11. Like, what does that even mean? He didn't even break up with me himself. Like, he sent his friend to tell me that he didn't like me anymore. Real mature. So that happened. And I spent the next several years trying to convince myself that whatever, I don't care. We're not going to talk. It's fine. I don't need him. Whatever. Yeah, that didn't go so well. Because here's the thing. He was my exact type. I'm still to this day not quite sure if I liked him because he was my ideal type or if my ideal type is because of him. But God help me, I am so weak for a snarky, nerdy, ridiculous, strutting around little asshole. That's so my type. Oh God, I'm so weak. I'm so weak for that. And that was him. So, it also probably doesn't help that there weren't that many people in my high school to have a crush on. So there weren't many options. And of the options that I had, he was it. He was it. So he was my first love. And I managed to delude myself or live in denial about that fact for several years until senior year. Until senior year. And then it all came rushing back. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. There was the fact that he came to my dad's funeral mass. He was one of the 3 people who came to my in my class who came to my dad's funeral mass, and he came to the funeral meal afterwards. That's always stuck with me. We hadn't really talked for years at that point, but he came to the funeral mass, and he hugged me, and he gave me comfort when I really needed it. And it always kind of stuck with me that he came. I probably built that up to be more than it actually was, but it was important to me at the time, so I'm accepting that fact. It was important to me, and it helped tremendously that he was there. And then after that, we talked occasionally because it was a school of 120 kids. There were like 33 of us in our class. You talk to each other, but we weren't like close. Senior year, the spring of senior year specifically, really specifically, the night of senior prom, and then the 6 weeks, 4 weeks, month, whatever, between prom and graduation. That was when everything just kind of blew back to life, and I realized how much I'd been kidding myself and how deep my feelings still ran for him, which was unfortunate because by that point he'd been in a relationship with his now wife for, I don't know, year and a half, whatever. Um, Point is that while I have been able to let him go, and I swear I don't harbor feelings for him anymore, thank God, because I had clung to those feelings for a really long time. Um, but I'm still haunted by the idea of him. Because in all the time since, all through college, in New York, here in Chicago, I have never found another person like him. I've never found someone who was so close to my type as he was. So he kind of haunts me in that way because that ideal, or at least that character of him that lives in my head, that's who I'm looking for. And I haven't found them yet, and so he lingers. And so this 3 a.m. thought experiment, when my brain decided to pull him into it, that got really emotional for me. Because again, the question became, what do I need to say to you? What exactly is it about you that I am holding on to? And the answer, as I just said, the answer is I've not found another person like him. And that kind of person is the person that I want. So, of all the characters in my head in this story, and of all the unfinished threads, and of all the silent conversations that I want to say, that's the one that I'm struggling the most with right now, because that's the one that really truly feels unfinished. And so after these dreams, and after a lot of sobbing, which was, I mean, a lot of the sobbing was probably because I was just exhausted and I wasn't sleeping well, and these dreams were really pointed, and I felt so vulnerable and so exposed. So I brought all of this to therapy because I'm learning how to be a good little therapy patient and stop dancing around the things that are bothering me, and I'm learning how to just put it out there and start dealing with it. So I brought all of this to therapy, and my therapist immediately agreed with my realization that I do not need to go to this reunion. I do not need to see these people in person. That would not be good for me. Whether I went alone or whether I brought a friend, that would not be a safe situation for me, mentally or emotionally. That would not be a good experience for me. That is not a thing that I should do to myself. Period. Done. Settled. Cool. We're not gonna go to this reunion. When I said, having this realization kind of for the first time in the therapy session, when I said, what it really is I'm being haunted by these characters in my head, and I'm being haunted by these unfinished stories and this lack of closure. She was proud of me for that. She said, yeah, that. And you know what? That's something that we can work on, because all of that is inside of you and it is not dependent on these other people. You don't need to apologize to those people. You don't need to receive apologies from those people. You need to square with the characters in your head. And you need to, what I said was, in order to get that closure, in order to put all of this to rest permanently forever, what is it that I need? What is it that I feel I'm lacking? And what popped out of my mouth without me even thinking about it was, I need to find a way to give my forgiveness. And again, my therapist was very proud of me for coming up with this. And the other thing that I need to have a way to say goodbye. To say goodbye to what could have been, in terms of, friendships, in terms of, this unrequited love that I carried around for 7 years, in terms of all of that. I need to find a way to say goodbye. And I need a way to finish the story. Because I am a writer and unfinished stories drive me insane. I'm deflecting. Refocus. I need to finish the story. I need to find a way to say goodbye. And I haven't found that yet. I haven't found that avenue for how that needs to happen. I don't know yet how to make that happen or what that answer is. So after therapy, I was again feeling incredibly vulnerable, incredibly exposed, very, very shaky. I was getting the therapy shakes, which is never a good thing, but happens a lot to me. It's because, therapy's hard. So immediately after therapy, I called my mom because I was hurting and I needed my mommy. So mom sat with me as I kind of rambled my way through this explanation that I just rambled to you. And one of the things that she said that is sitting pretty heavily with me is that your sisters and I don't understand why you're having these problems, why this still affects you so much, and why 11 years later, why this is still so present for you. We don't understand that. So we're trying to be supportive. We're trying to give you the love and support that you need. But it's hard for us to understand why this is so hard for you. Which, woof. I wish I could give her a succinct answer. I wish I could tell her exactly what it is, but I don't know yet. I've come to the realization that I need to find a way to get closure. I need to find a way to say goodbye, but I haven't quite hit the seed of what exactly I am holding on to and what exactly is haunting me and what exactly feels unfinished. Before we got off the Zoom call, my therapist said to me, between this and your job situation, this is really the spring of you letting go of things. So we're going to have a fun summer. I wanted to reach through the Zoom screen and kind of punch her a little bit for that because she's so right. She's so right. This is shaping up to be a spring of me letting go of some really old shit and letting go of pretty much everything that's mooring me at the moment. And it's scary. And it's going to be a lot of work. And I'm going to be doing a lot of crying. And I'm not looking forward to any of it. But at the same time, I said to my therapist and I said to my mother, I feel ready now to do that work. I feel ready to learn how to let go and to find the closure that I need. And I finally feel ready to heal. And that in and of itself feels like a huge step forward. That feels like so much progress, to just be ready to find closure and to be able to come to the end of at least holding on to this. Like, I know that some of these behavioral reactions and some of the really deeply ingrained responses, working on that is going to be the work of a lifetime. But I am at least ready to lay down the constant presence of these ghosts around me. I will figure out how to exorcise the ghosts. I don't think it's going to be as simple as calling the Ghostbusters or, doing any of the cleansing rituals that current Neo-Wiccan paganism nonsense advocates. If only it was as simple as waving around a stick of incense and just shooing them on their way. But I feel ready to do all of this emotional and mental spring cleaning. And on that note, stay safe, stay sane, get your cat out of the way of the camera shot, and let's be there for each other as we do our emotional spring cleaning.